Well, Ray Duke is here in the studio as we look at pictures live from St Peter's Square. She's a religious and ethics commentator. Ray, thanks for joining us this morning. On the day that Mother Teresa becomes a saint, it is perhaps worth reflecting for a moment on the fact that she went through her own personal spiritual struggle, didn't she?
Absolutely. It's quite fascinating, actually. We didn't expect this to have been the case, and she asked that these personal writings would be destroyed upon her death, but they weren't, and they've been published in a book. But she talks about feeling very abandoned by God, feeling very alone, and she uses this dark night of the soul analogy. So I think in a way that we can hold her in even more greater esteem, because with other saints, they did have that closeness to God and that sense that prayer could carry them through. And she didn't have that. She did feel that was lacking for her. And the fact that she still then managed to do the work that she did is hugely inspirational.
And yet, as Tom was mentioning there, she was not without her critics. She was, on occasion, quite a divisive figure, particularly stances on abortion, of course, within the Catholic Church, but the way in which she courted celebrity. Yeah,
she did. I think it is funny, though, to imagine she's an elderly Catholic nun at the end of the day. And, of course, she therefore had those stances on abortion, on divorce, on contraception. I think that's, perfectly acceptable. But also difficult for us to deal with today. There were no circumstances in which she thought that abortion was okay. Even with rapes going on in war-torn countries, she would go and tell the girls that they shouldn't have abortions. Interestingly, though, with Princess Diana, who she was a close friend of, and as you mentioned, yes, she did court celebrity. But I would say anyone in that position of fame sort of has to do that. But with Diana, despite her staunch anti-divorce beliefs, she thought that it was a good thing that she divorced Prince Charles, and she said that the love had gone. So perhaps she did have some slight liberalism within her morality.
Because you can ask yourself, many people are not familiar with Catholicism, might not even know people could still be made saints today, but you can ask yourself, is being made a saint really relevant in today's society? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Ultimately, we do want virtuous people to admire. I think even if you are completely secular and you don't believe, there is something about...
Look at some of the people that they made saints back in the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries. There are some dodgy characters amongst them.
There are. Catholics are torn on this as well. Some Catholics believe that when you become a saint, you are a patron of God and you sit alongside with him. Others take a slightly more lax view. You could argue that it is someone who's just lived an extremely virtuous life, and they're someone who's worthy of idolisation and of ultimately imitation. And I would say that regardless of the scrutiny that Mother Teresa has come under, she is somebody who's lived this wonderfully selfless life, and therefore she is worthy, I would say, of that term saint. And who are we to say today, really, what saint means? I think we have a cult of celebrity. Our saints are perhaps Beyonce's a saint. She with her views on race and on gender.
With all of that in mind, how rigorously does the Catholic Church establish the two miracles that one requires for sainthood?
I mean, the language is that it's verified by the Vatican. So the first miracle that Mother Teresa supposedly performed, a locket was placed on the woman she had a stomach problem, a tumour, and supposedly that tumour went away as a result of Mother Teresa's blessing. Doctors do say that it's because of the drugs that woman was taking. So there is debate around that, and very few people might not believe in miracles and in them being verified.
And this could be a little bit of an issue in regards to the doctor's role, and indeed was the miracle carried out by Mother Teresa, or indeed were they cured by the doctors? Because Tom Rayner, in his piece, he spoke to some doctors. He said actually what this could cause is people turning to prayer and turning to Mother Teresa rather than turning to doctors to deal with any ailments and illnesses they might have.
And that is dangerous. I absolutely agree. I think you'd hope that most Catholics would want the best of both. It's sort of the belt and braces approach, that it's lovely to have that spiritual dimension to life, and I think that is something that we still do want in 2016, yet obviously not to do away with medicine.
Well, there's no doubt she's left an amazing legacy. Gosh,
yeah, I mean, just looking at the pictures over your shoulder there, just an indication of the regard in which Mother Teresa is held. Ray Duke, thanks very much for joining us in Sunrise this morning.